Hi guys, it's Blackie.
And Bear.
And this is always number
30.
30.
30.
Holy cow.
Yep. We are a year and 6 weeks into this adventure.
When we started this, did you think you'd go this far?
No.
Yeah.
Or be as well received.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
We've got your channel up and running now.
Yeah.
And so he's posting intermittently, but he is posting. And as you figured this out, we post always on his channel first, and then a week later we'll post them on mine. So if you want to see it early, if you want to see it when it actually posts, go to Bear's channel, and that's Bear's Always on YouTube. And I'll put that down in the description box. Go subscribe if you hadn't.
I would appreciate it.
But we were sitting here talking about it being summertime and things. Boy, I forget about that hook back there. Came up and looked on the table, and there's a circle hook laying here, and I don't want to put my arm down and bury a hook in there.
Where's your Altoid stand?
Over here. It's in there. So tell me, how many times you ever had to have a fish hook dug out of you?
More than once. Probably more than twice.
I've had, I could probably honestly say somewhere around 6 to 8.
I learned quicker than you did.
Well, a lot of mine were not self-inflicted. A lot of mine was fishing with somebody else that didn't notice where they were casting and getting foul hooked in the back or whatever. Only, out of that 6 or 8, only about 3 of those times could I see the hook.
Yeah, it was stitches that got me.
Oh, okay.
Not fish hooks.
Yeah, with me it was always it was always something I was cutting on glass or whatever. I just, for a couple of years there, I had a magic ability to get cut. It's just like I'd put my arm down and I'd come up bleeding, where it was, what is that? And it'd be something that would catch me or whatever. I tore the bottom of my foot open one time on a dried piece of chicken skin. It was from fried chicken.
You really worked to do that.
I know, but it was fried chicken, and we'd had a family meal, and as I had come walking in to the table toting a big old thing of chicken from a stepmom, her sister had reached up and tore a hunk of skin off of the chicken breast because she loved the skin. She said, that one's mine. And as she did it, talking, she dropped some in the carpet. Well, that was like on Sunday. And it dried hard, and on Tuesday, it had got into those fibers, them old shag carpets we had in that day.
Yeah.
And it was like a thorn sitting there, and I had been walking, and I was sliding my feet, and it was just sharp enough to cut me.
Yeah, that's the ultimate in Murphy's Law.
I mean, how would you go and explain that one? Now I'm seeing a shiny piece of aluminum foil. Didn't know what I was looking at. Oh yeah, it didn't require stitches, but it cut me and I bled a little bit.
When I was growing up, it got to the point that my mother threatened just to sew me up herself and save the hospital bill.
No, I remember my granny back up here on the back of my head. I got a whack from a claw hammer and busted the skin up pretty good, and had to sit on the front porch, and my granny poured alcohol in it, squeezed and squeezed and squeezed till it bled and cleaned itself. Yeah. And then she put pressure on it until it kind of quit bleeding, and then she took sewing thread that she soaked in mercurochrome and sewed me up with plain old sewing thread that had mercurochrome on it.
That's the way they did it.
That's the way we did it. You didn't go to the doctor for something minor like that.
When she was a kid, they didn't go to the doctor.
I can remember her sitting there in that chair, me sitting on the edge of the porch, and she took her knees and was holding my head with her knees from her behind me, sewing me up. And the lady across the street looked over and said, Is he hurt? She said, no, just 4 stitches. That wasn't hurt. You know. But, oh boy, don't move, don't move. I'll stick you harder if you don't hold still. It'll hurt worse.
I have actually got in my first aid kit a set of needles, and I've got 2 that are curved.
Oh yeah.
For just such emergencies.
Yep. Well, when I was learning how to do it, and later on when I got living with the Whitfields, and he had medic training for special forces, and it was you took 2 paper towels, and you learned to sew paper towels. That's how you learn to come underneath and go up. So it goes in the hole and comes up. You didn't go down. You actually stuck the tip of the needle down to the wound and came up through the skin. And then you pulled it tight when you got done. So you learned how to sew paper towels first, and then once you got that, he had the rubbery fake flesh that you got to sew up. They used in training, and learned how to do that. And then the first person I ever had to put stitches in after I learned that was his son, who cut himself, and we were off on a thing, and so I sewed him up with him hollering and making all kinds of racket, and his mama holding his leg for me to sew him up.
Oh, the good old days.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's amazing we survived.
My exact words. It's a wonder we survived.
Yeah, it is. It's a wonder. Looking back now at the way things are today, how people are just skittish at everything. And I've got a good friend that works in an ER, and things that people come in, they think are life-threatening. You know, just it amazes me. And I'm not trying to belittle it.
No.
But, you know, we grew up running through the woods and everything else, and when you tripped and you went shoulder first into that pine tree and tore all the bark off, and, you know, somebody had put the shoulder back in socket for you.
Sure. And keep going.
And keep going. Just don't move it around a lot. Just do like this, you know. I remember falling off of a back porch, and I went to put my arm out, and it didn't hurt my wrist, but my shoulder wanted to pop out of joint. It wasn't completely out, but it was sticking up. And so my uncle came up and looked at it, and he ran his hand, he was no combat vet, and he ran his hand over the top and said, oh, this ain't gonna be a problem at all. Not at all. Here's what we're gonna do. I want you to take and turn your head to the left, and he put his hand right there on my neck. And when I say 3, you're gonna cough. Ready? 1, 2, and he yanked that thing back into socket. And he went, pop. And I remember 4th of July fireworks. I remember my knees buckling and me going to the ground and being like on this arm holding straight back and just sitting there and wanting to throw up so bad. And then him scooping me up by the waist and make walk, start walking, start breathing, boy, start breathing. You're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. When you get up bigger and start playing football, this will be nothing. This will be nothing.
You'll do this 3 or 4 times a game.
Yeah, well, yeah. You will do this every game, every play. You're gonna be doing this. You're gonna get used to it. Don't worry about it. I refused to even think about playing football until I got into junior high. But oh my God, I'll never forget that.
I've always had this habit of when my kids were little, playing with them in the back seat while we're driving.
Yep.
So I just reach your arm around and like grab their foot and shake their foot or something.
Yeah.
My oldest son was about 3, 3.5, 4, and he grabbed a hold of my arm and pulled, and I felt it come out of socket. And when my wife and I got back to the house, we went into the living room, and I said, my arm is out of joint, and I need you to help me put it back in. And she said, huh? I said, grab my wrist. And I took a step back. I said, now you lean backwards, and on 3, I'm going to pull. 1, 2, 3.
And pop.
And you heard it go.
Back in place.
It went back in place.
Yeah.
She went, oh my God, he really did pull it out. Well, yeah. I told you that.
Well, I was working at Walmart. I've told this before. I was at Walmart, and we were moving these big cases of something heavy, a whole pallet of them. Me and this big gentleman named Demetrius.
I remember Demetrius.
And I grabbed, and whenever I went, which hand was it? this hand. I went to turn that way, and I'm holding the bottom of a heavy box, and I hung the corner of the box to the next one, and my bird finger popped out of joint, and it laid it flat back against my hand like that.
Oh,
It just snapped back because of where the tendons did. Popped back like that. And I'm like, ah! And I came up like that, my fingers back here. And so we have these concrete poles at the corners to keep pallets from damaging the wall.
Yeah.
And so I told Demetrius, come here, and I stuck my wrist around. I said, hold my wrist, don't let it move, hold my wrist in place. And so this big 6'4", 200-pound guy grabbed hold of my wrist, and I grabbed a hold of it, and I put it back. I knew how to put it back. And yes, this is gonna hurt like everything. But after you sat in that ER for 4 hours waiting for the doctor to get around to seeing you, because this isn't life-threatening and he's not in any big rush and he's watching an episode of Golden Girls in the back eating his sandwich, 4 hours from now after it swelled up real good, that's a whole new chapter of pain. Right now it's a little bit numb.
Sure.
And so I put it back in position and, you know, did the twist and everything. Of course, it hurt beyond. But I got it where I could flex it, and then I went to taping the two fingers together to keep it in place. It's going to swell, it's going to turn black. Well, I popped it back in place and everything, and Demetrius just turned and walked back toward the break room. I didn't think nothing of it.
And faded.
I didn't see that, but he went around the wall and went about 10 yards and just, thud, and he was out. And so all the ladies in the break room come running out and they're fanning him and everything else. I don't know any of this. I'm busy with my boo-boo, you know. And so I get the tape on it, and I went still picking up and putting the stuff, finishing up. I don't know where I guess he went on break. And then like 30 minutes go by and I'm finishing up the pallet, and that hand's throbbing real good by this point. And here comes our assistant manager, Rocio. And she came around the corner, and she's Hispanic, and she's going, Michael, I need you to come unload the truck. I mean, if you would, get Demetrius to do it. I got a boo-boo, and let him run the pallet jack. Because that pallet jack, power jack was known you had to horse it.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't do anything easy. And she, oh, he went home. He passed out. He did what? Oh, he passed out in the back hallway. We done sent him home. He go home. I got the boo-boo.
And he went home.
And he went home. So, oh yeah, that was one of them nights.
Well, did you get the truck unloaded?
I got the truck unloaded. And then when I went to the company doctor the next day, and he took one look at him, oh, you're fine, go back to work. I knew he would. You know, I just wanted to make them x-ray it, make sure I put everything back in place and it wasn't green broke or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, it swole up and turned black, and, you know. And
well, I mean, you ripped it 180 degrees. I'm sure it's going to.
it was an interesting day, you know. But those are things that you just get. No, you never enjoy it. You never like it. It isn't that, oh my God, I can do this. No, you never want to do it again. Yeah. But it's not the end of the world when it happens. And so we know to deal with it. And I've got friends of mine that they're teenage boys, or in one case, a friend of mine's son was 24. And he was coming down the stairs, and his foot just went out from under him, and he just sat down hard. That was it.
You thought he killed him.
Oh, he rolled around in the backyard, and you thought he had a shattered pelvis or some crap.
No.
You know, and she calls me up. They don't have insurance. She's scared to death. And would I come over and see him? Well, they lived 10 minutes from me, so I jumped in the car and I run over there. And I start checking him out, and I'm not detecting a broke pelvis or nothing else. And I said, you might want to take him to ER. You know, he might have cracked his tailbone. I've had that happen. That's no fun. I said, but if he just sat down hard. He didn't even get a bruise. They went, they x-rayed him and everything. He did not have any broke bones or anything else. And the only thing they said was, he said, I turned a little blue on one butt cheek. But you'd have thought that somebody just ripped this kid in half.
Yeah, I have a cousin that when we were kids was like that. He would just, the slightest little something, he would think that he had lost a major body part.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
we digress.
We digress. We say that to say this. Growing old is not for sissies.
No.
And you know, we talk about self-medicating, essentially is what it is. Physician, heal thyself. When we were coming up, there was a lot of, I'll wipe it off and keep going. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but one time one of my uncles and I were clearing some land for a trailer park. We had just bought a little piece of land that hooked onto our farm, and Daddy wanted to put a trailer park out there, so we were clearing the land to put the trailer park in. And my uncle was running the saw, and he tipped that saw and didn't notice my foot.
Yeah.
And he put that chainsaw through the top of my boot and nicked the top of my foot, and I felt it. Now, I didn't say a word.
Woo!
I just, when he rocked the saw back, I moved my foot out of the way, and we kept cutting wood.
Oh.
And I got home, and I had a little bitty bloody spot on the top of my sock,
Yep.
and a very small incision on the top of my toe, and that was it.
And one run pair of Fruit of the Looms, because that sucked every bit of oxygen out of the universe.
I never did find that pair.
Woo!
It's still missing.
I had an uncle of mine using a circular saw one time, and we had propped it up, and he's cutting the plywood, and I thought, he does realize my knee is on the other side of this, right?
No.
And I just had time to like push up and straighten my leg out, and he cut my blue jeans across there. It didn't get me, but it was that quick, and I did like that, and he looked, what's wrong? Nothing, go on. And he went ahead and cut this top piece off, and when we took the thing off, that's whenever I did like that and said, did I cut you? No. But you owe me a pair of blue jeans.
Contrary to popular opinion, he is not a Superman.
Oh no, I believe.
I never claimed to be. He's not a Superman. You know, we just grew up in an era at the tail end of the era where, you know, you just wiped it off and kept going. And a lot of that's been lost. I've said it many times. If you live near a community college of some description, check them out. I bet you they're going to have a basic first aid class or a basic emergency medical technician class. You know, if you're looking for something to do, take it.
Everybody needs to have a basic life-saving knowledge to just buy time, if nothing else.
Right.
Until professionals can get. Today with the phones, it ain't back like it was in our day where if you come up on a car wreck, somebody's got to go find a farmhouse with a phone.
Yeah.
Today, somebody's got a cell phone and done calling for help. You're just buying time till response gets here.
Yes.
And so, especially if you're going to be going out in the woods and you won't do any of this bushcraft, woodscraft stuff, where you're using knives, tomahawks, all kinds of stuff. There is mechanical injury is a big risk. You need to be prepared and stuff like that and have a basic knowledge, if nothing else, so that you can at least do no harm, but with any luck, buy some time, you know.
Yeah. Traditionally in emergency medicine, you have what's called the golden hour. And that's this golden moment where you can, to get somebody to the hospital before things really start to go sour. And generally speaking, you can do that without much problem at all. Like he was talking about first aid kits earlier in a separate video. I've got mine. There's 3 tenets to emergency medicine: airway, breathing, and circulation. And in my ADHD, ADD, whatever you want to call it, mindset, I have my medical kit arranged with airway stuff here. Okay. ABC, yeah. And then the
Bleeding.
bleeding and circulation, you know, down. I've got my kit arranged in the ABCs so that I go here for the A, here for the B, and here for the C. And it's just a little shoulder pack I picked up at Walmart. I do have a dedicated IFAK, the individual first aid kit, hooked to the side of it just for boo-boos. So it's a split kit.
And that's just it. You need, I don't carry much of a first aid kit. I carry little band-aids and stuff, a little bit of ointment, because I've got such a background in real life of improvising what we needed to get us out of here. I recognize what is arterial flow. I know how to put a tourniquet on. I carry a leather belt on me all the time. No, it is not a professional thing, whatever, but the belt has far more uses than that tourniquet does, because it's got to stay sealed up, and I do know how to use it. Again, cell phones today, I'm calling for help before I ever leave out of here. And if I've got a severe blood loss problem and I had to put a tourniquet on myself, it makes more sense for me to lock it down, get on the horn, tell 911 where I'm at, where I'm going, and see if the ambulance will come meet me halfway or whatever, you know, and get myself too professional.
Yeah, communications is not the issue that it used to be.
And I understand, speaking on that, I know a lot of people today are wanting their certifications in ham radio, shortwave music, and that's a wonderful thing. I do recognize that in times of emergency. But I know guys that are carrying shortwave transmitter sets and everything with them to the woods for a weekend camp out. That's great if I'm going to go set up an antenna and practice my stuff. That's great. But in reality, if I have to start hollering for help with that, cell phone's a better choice.
It can be, but you know, you can put together a handheld ham radio that's about the size of this cup.
Oh yeah, but you got to string up your antenna or whatever. If I'm already hurt bad enough, I need help. Setting up a radio set, you know, I'd rather dial, if I have the opportunity, dial 911 and talk to some dispatcher. With the ability they have today to pinpoint my phone.
Let me tell you funny.
Okay guys, the camera's out of time, so hate to interrupt in the middle of this video, but we ran out of time.
Ain't technology great?
Yeah, it's wonderful. Two old guys start talking, we'll eat up some time. So, till next time guys, I'm Blackie.
And Bear.
Wishing you safe journeys. Hang in there guys.